I'll be leading the group in the search for your parents in the Ezerlin ruins. It's a pleasure to meet both of you, said Rowan, holding out a paw to Samsa. Samsa shook it. Rowan held his paw to Tamus, who shook it as well. Shall we discuss what we're going to do about your parents? Asked Rowan, placing his paws back in his lap. That'd be very helpful, said Tamus. Well, basically, we're going to go through the forest, make it through the marshes and the desert, and if your parents are in the ruins, we'll bring them back and deliver them back to you safe and sound, said Rowan. What if they're not there? Asked Tamus. Then we'll put our ears to the ground and see if we can find any leads to where they might be and head in that direction. They'll be found eventually, said Rowan confidently. That's right, said Barklin. We'll do our best to find them, said Samuel. Thanks for all that you've done and will do, said Samsa. Tamus sat back in his chair. Before we disperse for the night, there's something else we need to get sorted as well, said Tamus. Getting up and going to a large rollback writing desk at the side of the room, he pulled a large silver key laced throughout by a piece of ribbon from around his neck and unlocked the desk. He rolled the top upwards with both paws and secured it in place. The drawer slid open and shut again momentarily afterwards. Tamus came back to the table and sat back down, holding a purple velvet satchel between both paws, placing it on his lap. It's because of the five of you that we were able to get back up here at all, said Tamus, sliding the satchel open and reaching inside with one paw. Tamus pulled out a smaller pouch from inside the larger bag, this one a dull black with edges that shone faintly, and laid it out on the tabletop. This he opened until it laid flat on the surface of the table. In the center of the fabric sat a small pile of gemstones of various sizes and colors. Most of them were rubies of reds and sapphires of yellows and blues and other stones of purples and faint oranges that all twinkled silently in the firelight. These stones he split into equal piles and without a word and placed a single pile before each of the stunned travelers. These are for you, as our thanks for saving us from the continued quiet existence in that forest. It's a small token of what your appearance and help meant to us, and if we had the option to give you more, we would, but that is unfortunately all we could give you at the moment. If you're able to find our parents, I'm sure there are more stones like this waiting for you, said Tamus, folding the black fabric into fours and placing it inside the larger bag. He got up and placed the bag back in the desk, rolled the lid down, and locked it once again with the key and sat back down. The group stared at the two raccoons. That's very kind of you, said Barklin, astonished. That's more than kind, said Rowan. It's completely unneeded, said Rose. Samsa looked at her sternly. No, it's not. You're going to be potentially risking your life to find our parents, and it's not right not to pay you for at least your time spent traveling in service to us already. Amberstones always pay for services rendered, and you helped us a lot by coming up here, said Samsa. Rose backed down shyly. I'm sorry. I'm just not used to seeing such wealth handed out so easily, said Rose. I understand that, but remember that it's also a partial payment for an important job. Once the job is completed, you'll be able to look after yourselves for quite a while with what we're able to pay you. These are just to make sure that you're able to get whatever you need during your journey without any trouble, and to make sure that if you fail or want to call off the adventure, it wasn't a complete bust on your end. It's also to pay you for getting us out of that blasted forest and back with Jeffries again, which we are ever so grateful for, said Samsa. She's right, you know. We owe you so much more than that, said Tamus, smiling at the group. We're just glad you're safe and happy again, said Samuel. Yes, that's the most important part, making sure that you're not in harm's way any longer, said Rose. Well, you've done that, and more, and these are our way of saying thanks, and paying you for what's next to come, said Tamus. The group reached into their clothes and pulled out their respective coin pouches and placed them on the table. They undid the purses and scooped the gems into them, cinching the purses closed quietly and with little fanfare. They quickly placed their coin purses back out of sight. How was the ride up to the city? Asked Rose, changing the subject. Just a long day of sitting in a shaky carriage. Quiet, really, said Samsa. They picked us up early in the morning, and we stopped for lunch 2/3 of the way up there, and then it was just staving off boredom for the day as we made up here more than anything else. I slept most of the way, to be honest, said Tamus. You can sleep anywhere, agreed Samsa. Tamus shrugged. Soft pillows and an easy ride makes it nice to doze, said Tamus. I find it to be the same way, said Rose agreeably. It'd be nice to be back in our old beds tonight, though I doubt I'll sleep much. It's such a change from the sound of wind through the trees. You get used to the sounds of the forest, said Samsa. Oh, right, now you've got to deal with the sounds of the street and no nature at all, said Barklin. I'm sure once your head hits that pillow and it sinks in that you're really home, you'll fall dead asleep in no time at all, said Rowan, sipping his tea. Tamus smiled at him. I'm sure he's right, Samsa, said Tamus. Samsa nodded and yawned. I'm sure you're quite right, Mr. Rowan, said Samsa. Do you want to call it a night and head upstairs then? We've got to finish packing up our gear from our old supplies, and we'll be heading out in the morning, said Rose. Samsa yawned again. A large, sleepy yawn brought on by mounting anxiety and an overwhelming sense of relief. That sounds grand, said Samsa. The group broke off from the table. Brooklyn and Avery headed upstairs with Samsa. Rowan finished his tea quickly in one long gulp, placing his cup on the table. Rose, Samuel, and Tamas walked Rowan to the front door. I'll see you all bright and early in the morning, said Rowan. There's going to be a carriage waiting for you all tomorrow that'll take you as far as it can, at least until the proper roads run out. It should cut down on your travel time, said Tamas. That's mighty fine of you to do that, said Rowan. Thank Jeffries. He had it all sorted before we even arrived. He told us while we were sorting the dishes in the kitchen, said Tamas cheerfully. All right, you two make sure everyone goes through their bag and packs everything they're going to bring with them tomorrow. You pack the food in the morning under my supervision so I know exactly what your rations are, and then we'll head off in the carriage until it can't take us any further. Then we walk. I'll be here just before dawn. I don't expect you to be up that early, but I do expect to see you by dawn's light. Do you understand me? Asked Rowan expectantly. Sure thing, said Samuel. Yes, we'll see you in the morning, responded Rose. Make sure you have your weapons ready and with your bags. Bring them downstairs and place them down in the hallway once they're packed so you don't forget anything. It'll finalize the packing for you, all right? See you all tomorrow, said Rowan. Rowan stepped out into the warm summer night air and made his way down the pavement. Tamas closed the door behind him. I think I'll retire to my room and get some sleep, said Tamas. We'll go get our bags sorted then and call it a night ourselves, said Rose. The three of them walked up the many stairs until they came to the third-floor landing, and Rose and Samuel stopped at their respective doors. Tamas walked by them to the second to the last room on the right, where a small bronze shield with the letter T pressed against it rested in the center. Have a good night, Tamas, said Rose, turning to him. Night, you two. It's good to see you again, said Tamas, smiling. Night, retorted Samuel, watching as Tamas turned the doorknob and went into his room. I'll see you in a little while, sweet thing, said Samuel to Rose. Rose blushed, surprised by the affectionate talk. You too, cutes, said Rose, her face a bright pink as she closed the door behind her. They gathered their old bags, going through them to determine what useful things they may need to transfer to their new luggage. Samuel brought his drawing supplies, including his small notebook and grease pencils and pens. Rose brought her book of pressed flowers she had been collecting on her walks through the countryside, and Averly made sure that her new editions of her little black book had a special and safe spot in her bag. She kept her spell people satchel on her belt. Averly made her mind up to make a pouch to keep her spellbook nearer to her when she could, and took one of the smaller bags from the old carrying backpack in the hopes of converting it into something appropriately suited to carrying something so important to her. She spent roughly an hour tearing strips of fabric from it and sewing into the lining of it until she had made a new, slightly smaller pouch that fit the book snugly against her. Averly slipped the book inside the pouch and tugged it first softly, then quite hard. It held fast. It would hold well enough while they traveled. Brooklyn simply transferred what he wanted from the old bag to the new one with little effort. He kept most of what he thought of as significant in the satchel around his neck, though with the new bag he was able to keep a cloth quiver that had been bulky and mildly annoying to travel with in place with a well-designed side strap that looped through the quiver's attachment points, which pleased him greatly. He found he could also reach the arrows from the quiver easily with one paw, which also pleased him. That's excellent, said Barklin. Samuel looked at him. Got it working, did you? Asked Samuel. Yeah, look, I can reach these really easily now. It's like it was designed with that in mind, said Barklin. Samuel smiled at Barklin, enjoying his mood. Barklin always enjoyed fiddling with straps, and this was no exception. Samuel finished loading in all of his remaining things into his bag and cinched it shut, then packed that into the rucksack and closed it completely. He loaded the bag onto his shoulders and bent down and picked up his sword, turning to face Barklin. Barklin was facing him, his bag already on his back, holding his bow with one paw. Shall we go and check on the ladies and see if they're ready? Asked Barklin. Yeah, they should be down there near it, said Samuel. The two of them walked out from their room and crossed the hall and knocked on the door. Yep, one moment, responded Rose. She was at the door a moment later, her rucksack sticking out over her shoulders and her staff in her paw. We've been waiting for you for 5 minutes already, said Averly, smiling up at the two of them in the doorway. She was sitting on the bed, kicking her legs against the edge of the bed. Oh, sorry to keep you waiting, ladies, replied Barklin, offering a wry smile. No problem, noble sir, offered Averly, bowing on the bed and laughing as she rose back to a seated position. Shall we drop our stuff off downstairs and head to bed? Asked Samuel. Sure thing, said Rose. The carriage and Rowan will be here just before dawn, so we should be asleep as soon as we can be, said Averly. I brought her up to speed while we swapped gears, said Rose cheerfully. Right, same as us then, said Barklin. The four travelers made their way down the steps until they came to the first floor landing and stacked their bags against the hallway wall by the door. Samuel and Rose rested their weapons next to their bags, and Barklin laid his bow on top of his rucksack. He tied his satchel closed and laid it against the bow so that it rested against the wood of the bow and not against the wire. Jeffries came out from the kitchen. I'll be here at dawn with your supplies organized for you. They arrived this morning, and they should last just over 3 weeks in case you get sidetracked or get lost, said Jeffries. Thank you, Jeffries. You've done a lot to help us, said Rose. Jeffries turned to her and hugged her gently. No, child, it's you who's helped me. You've returned my family back to me, and I could never be more grateful to you, said Jeffries. Jeffries quickly straightened himself and brushed his paws over his vest. The carriage will be here early. It should take you as far as the roads go, cutting at least a day of travel from your track. Should be quite comfortable, said Jeffries. It should also make finding them that much faster, said Samuel. That was one of the reasons I decided to get it, said Jeffries. We're heading back upstairs to go to bed, so we're ready for the trip, said Averly. Yes, it's best if you can head up early if you can. Thanks again, all of you, said Jeffries. He turned around and went back into the kitchen. The group headed back upstairs into their rooms. They wished each other a good night and went into the rooms, closing the doors behind them. Samuel undressed and was climbing into bed when the door to the lantern glowed. The curtains of the lantern slid open and two eyes peered out at him. The door swung open and Chibri popped out. I'll get to come with you once we're on our way, right? Said Chibri, working what appeared to be a crick in her lower neck with one ethereal hand. Of course you will. We'll introduce you to Rowan and you'll get to be a proper part of the expedition, said Samuel. I'm sure, since he knew we disappeared in the forest, that Rowan knows all about Chibri, said Barklin, reading from his book while sitting in bed. Samuel and Chibri both looked at him. Do you think he'll be a problem? Asked Chibri. I doubt it. He's a pretty straightforward animal. He'll probably walk up, poke you in the eye to see if you're real, and then gruffly accept that you're there, I bet, said Barklin. You think so? Asked Chibri, unsure of herself. Yes, don't worry about him. He'll be fine with you, I think, offered Samuel uneasily. All right, then, said Chibri. Sorry you spent so long cooped up in there, said Samuel, placing the lantern on the table by his bed. No, it's been all right. I've been seeing how high of a number I can count up to, said Chibri. Barklin put his book down. How far did you get? Asked Barklin. I kept losing track. I keep having more fun counting in my head quietly than actually keeping track, said Chibri, laughing to herself. Right, said Barklin, picking his book back up. If we're going to spend one more day around animals you can't be seen with, then it's going to be a few weeks of nothing but open air where you'll be nothing but free to do whatever you want, said Samuel. Do you think I'll ever be able to freely walk around without worrying you about causing a scene? There have been other elementals, you know, said Chibri, becoming upset and turning a bright blue and gaining size. Well, let's see how well we do in the next month, and we'll talk about it, all right? I'm just not used to having a walking, talking flame go with me everywhere. Once we're used to you, and then it'll be easier to figure out a way to have you out in the public. That seemed to calm her down somewhat. Chibri deflated, returning to her smaller, calmer size. All right, then. I just don't want to spend the rest of my life locked up in a gilded cage, Chibri. That's fair enough, Chibri, said Barklin. Samuel nodded. No, that's not fair to anyone. We'll figure it out as soon as we can. There must be a way to transport you safely around without causing a ruckus. Maybe we can ask Averly to send a message to Martin about it, asked Samuel. Perhaps. Bet he'll just say, that's what the lantern's for, though. I'm sure of it, said Chibri, puffing out her cheeks and letting out a hot stream of air into the room. Right now, though, Chibri, we've got to get to sleep because we're about to get up early tomorrow and it's already getting later than it needs to be. Would you mind if we continue our talk once we started walking? Asked Samuel. I suppose so, said Chibri dejectedly, returning to her lantern and closing the door. It glowed faintly, returning to the dull metal sheen of the rest of the lantern, and the curtains closed with a somber finality. Samuel sighed and placed the lantern on his clothes. Night, Chibri, said Samuel. Night, Sam, replied Chibri, faintly through a crack through the lantern's door. Night, Barky. Sleep well, said Samuel, getting into his bed and rolling over. Barky placed his book on the table next to the bed and extinguished the candle in the room before rolling over himself and wishing them both a good night's sleep. They fell into a quick and dreamless sleep that was only broken by the rising sun washing over them both in the early morning. So I just signed up for Anchor's funding platform for the podcasters. It seems like a better deal than Patreon at the moment. So I would ask that you click the button that says donate and maybe donate $1 or $5 or $10 a month to us so that we can keep going. And I can produce almost daily or daily podcasts or more in the way that I've been going. And I'll produce book after book after book after book, and then I'll read through them. And I'll keep doing that until I can't see an end to it. It's so much fun. It really is. So please go to anchor.fm/divergentmind and click the donate button, and that'll help me out a whole bunch. Thank you so much, Jay. Okay, well, I'm taking a break, so I might as well do some ads. This is my first one, so bear with me. So, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. That's pretty cool. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. And all you have to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. Please visit anchor.fm/divergentmind to leave a message so that I may get back to you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Hi everybody. So I've made a new store called animalquest.shop, and I made my first shirt, Barkland Reading, at the Amberstones house, and I would ask that you go and buy those there. I'll make a few bucks each time you buy something from there, and I have men, women's, baby clothing, and buttons, as well as other accessories, including dog bandanas, which I think are pretty cool. And I'll be adding more merch every week or two for that store as the stories progress and the sequels are written and read. I'll do the same for Divergent Mind. The link again is animalquest.shop. The link for Divergent Mind will be divergentmind.shop as well. Thank you so much, Jay. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that I have a YouTube channel called Taught Myself, and that I've decided to start selling merch already with a phrase that my brother showed me saying, "My disability is invisible," of which I made a hat for myself. So I decided to make hats, shirts, hoodies, for both men and women on Spreadshirt.com. All you have to do is search for "My disability is invisible." It's in green, and that's mine. You'll know it's me because when you click the sale icon, the same little Divergent Mind icon comes up. And I hope you'll support me. I make about $5 per shirt or per sale. Everything else goes to Spreadshirt. But that's okay because it's still a better deal than a lot of other places. And I really hope you'll support me. Come check me out on the YouTube. Teach me how to do that properly so I can have a community there too. And I await your response. Have a lovely day. Jay.
Hey people, take a listen to the Divergent Mind podcast. You get both insight into living with a serious mental illness and get to listen to a lovely tale about a journey cute little animals need to take. Don't miss out, and remember, divergent minds don't need to think alike.
Please go to ratethispodcast.com/divergentmind and tell me what you think. Thank you very much. Yours truly, Jay.